If you're sharing your photos online, then you definitely want to make sure that they look their absolute best. And while it may seem as simple as just uploading the photos to your favorite website, if you do nothing but that, then you're not making sure that they look their absolute best. And in this video, I wanted to share with you guys a couple of different things that you can do to make sure that your photos look crispy and clear whenever you share them to Instagram or Facebook. Right off the bat, I wanted to mention two things that can greatly impact how your photos look online, and that's going to be the lens that you used and the resolution of your file. I wanted to mention these two things right away because I do get asked about them a lot, and a larger resolution image can appear sharper when you resize it down, and using a sharper lens can improve the sharpness of your photo. One of my favorite lenses, the Sigma R35 f1.2, is very sharp, wide open, but if I used a cheaper lens like the Sony 51.8, then that lens wide open at 1.8 is pretty soft. The camera that I use is the Sony a7R III, and it's 42 megapixels. So like I said before, when I resize that big file down, it appears sharper. And sometimes I've even had slightly out of focus 61 megapixel files with my Sony a7R IV. And when I resized them down, they appeared sharp, and I did a little bit of sharpening. And when I shared them online, some people even said that they looked tack sharp. The reason why I titled this video, How to Make Your Photos Look Good on Facebook and Instagram, is because I personally share to both of those websites all the time. And the reason why that's going to be important for this video is because while Instagram recommends the longest edge of your photo be 1350 pixels, Facebook recommends that the longest edge of your photo be 2048 pixels. Resizing your photos to be those two different sizes is how you make those photos look their absolute best on those two websites. But as you'll see in a little bit, I personally recommend resizing for Facebook's recommended size for a reason. Before I continue, I do want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community filled with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people alike. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity with Skillshare. There's so many different classes on Skillshare regarding photography, graphic design, cinematography, so many different things that you just need to go to Skillshare and check out all the different classes. One class that I looked into recently is called How to Make Dope Low Budget Films by Julian Klepper, and I wanted to check this class out because I wanted to see if there's any interesting ways to make interesting videos on a low budget. One thing that I did pick up from the class is to make a shot list, and I know that is kind of specific to just making videos, but honestly when it comes to photo shoots, a little bit of planning does help. Skillshare was made to learn, so there's never any ads, and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow where your creativity takes you. If you guys are interested in trying Skillshare out, be sure to use my link in the description area below, because the first 1,000 of you to use that link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. When you guys support the people that support my channel, it allows me to keep making free content for you guys, so definitely check out Skillshare. Alright, so we're here in Lightroom, which is my preferred way of processing my photos, and this is where I'm going to do a little bit of sharpening. But if you don't use Lightroom, if you use Photoshop's Camera Raw processing software instead, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. All I'm going to do is just increase the sharpening from 40 to 60. And aside from maybe a couple of other exposure adjustments and increasing the colors a bit, that's all I pretty much do in Lightroom. If for some reason you felt like the photo was completely fine and you didn't want to do anything else to this photo and just export straight to Instagram or Facebook, then all you would have to do is just export the photo here. But again, you do want to resize it to be 1350 pixels for Instagram or 2048 pixels for Facebook. And the way to do that here in Lightroom is to go to the top, go to File, go to Export, and then right here in Image Resizing, there's this little box right here that says Resize to Fit. You just need to click on that, change the drop-down menu here to Long Edge, and then that's where you would type in the recommended size that you would want to use, which is again 2048 pixels for Facebook and 1350 pixels for Instagram. This resolution section right here doesn't really matter what you put because that's only going to be important if you're printing the images and we're just sharing the images online. But I was actually curious what the difference in the file size would be if I put the best pixels per inch, the best resolution for printing the images, which is 300, and I checked it at the default setting, which is 240, and the file size was the same. So I would recommend just changing it to 300 because again, the file size is going to be the same. And what if you decide that you want to print your photos? But if you want your photos to look their absolute best, then you would not want to export the photos right here, and instead back out of this altogether, right click on the photo, and then go to Edit In, and then go to Edit in Adobe Photoshop 2021 or whatever you have, and then edit the photo and resize it in Photoshop. Okay, so now we're here in Photoshop, and before we do any sort of resizing and sharpening, we want to make sure that we're in the right color space. So in order to make sure that we're in the right color space, you can go to Edit, go to Convert to Profile, and right now you can actually see that I was in the wrong color space of Pro Photo RGB, and we want to be in sRGB. So if you don't see sRGB right here, click on it, and then at the tippy top, you can actually see it right here in this section. Click on sRGB. And the reason why we want to upload in sRGB color space is because if we're using something else like Pro Photo RGB, for example, then when you upload these photos online to Facebook or Instagram, the colors could be way off. And I actually have an example of that. You guys can see on the screen right now how the shot would have looked like if it was in Pro Photo RGB. So we're going to go ahead and convert it to sRGB. So I'm going to do that right now by clicking OK. And then it's going to convert the photo to sRGB color space, and now we're good. Right now my photo is actually in 16-bit, but I'm actually going to convert it to 8-bit because Instagram converts the photo to 8-bit. So there's no point in having 16-bit files because again, Instagram is just going to convert it to 8-bit anyway. The way to convert it to 8-bit is to go here on the top where it says image, go to mode, and then change it to 8 bits. When it comes to making your photos look good on Instagram, anytime that you can avoid making Instagram work harder is going to be better for your images. That's why we went ahead and converted our image to 8-bit ourselves. And that's why we're going to be resizing our images ourselves as well. Because if we let Instagram do that, then it's going to look really bad. The resizing and sharpening part of this video that I'm about to show you is no doubt the most important part of this video, because resizing and sharpening your photos makes a huge difference to how good they can look like online. And you guys don't realize just how many tests I did to make sure that the information that I'm about to give you is the most correct. So if you guys find this video helpful at all, make sure to give it a like. Just to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of the testing that I did, I actually made 3 different quality versions of each of the different sizes. So I made a 100%, 80%, and 60% quality version of the Facebook size, Instagram size, and full resolution size photos. And then I also sharpened those photos. I made copies of those photos and sharpened them to see how the sharpening would make an impact on the photos online. So that ended up being 18 photos, and I uploaded all 18 to Instagram and Facebook. And then I downloaded them onto my computer and compared them in Photoshop to see which one looks the best. I also viewed those photos on my phone, zoomed in, and took screenshots of all the different photos zoomed in to see exactly how they look like and compared to on your phone. After all that testing, what it came down to is that resizing your photo to be 2048 pixels and doing a little bit of sharpening will make your photos look their absolute best on both platforms. Before we do any sort of resizing and sharpening, you need to decide right now if you want to share this image only on Facebook, only on Instagram, or if you want to share on both of those websites. The reason why you need to decide on that is because let's say, for example, that you wanted to share this image only on Facebook as 4:6 aspect ratio, but then if you decide later on that you want to share this image on Instagram, Instagram's aspect ratio is 4:5. So that would require you to crop the photo a bit to fit 4:5 aspect ratio. And it's for that reason that I tend to share my photos and resize them to be 4:5 instead of 4:6. However, I have found that sometimes when I resize an image just for Instagram in 4:5 ratio, but then I later decide that I want to share this image on Instagram, but I want it to be in 4:6 ratio, it's a pretty simple fix because the longest side of my images in portrait orientation is going to be the height. So in order to make it 4:6, all I have to do is just crop off the sides, and that height still remains the same at 2048 pixels, and I'm totally fine. Of course, you never want to crop your photos. This is just an option for indecisive people like myself. But let's go ahead and finally get to sharpening and resizing this photo. Let's say, for example, that I wanted it to be an Instagram ratio. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit C and change it to 4:5. And luckily enough, I do have a lot of space here on the top and bottom. And let's say, for example, this photo is fully edited. So ignore this little bit of softbox in the way. And I'm going to hit OK. It's going to crop it to 4:5. And now we can start to sharpen the photo and resize it. There's a lot of different ways to sharpen a photo in Photoshop, but I found that the best way to do that is with the high pass filter method. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that right now. What you wanna do first is make a copy of the layer. So I'm gonna hit Control or Command J. That makes a copy. And then with that copy, make sure that it's selected, and then go to filter, go to other, click on high pass, and make sure that it's 0.3. You're gonna click OK, and then you're gonna change the blending mode of that layer from normal to linear light, and that's gonna give the photo a little bit of sharpness. I actually can show you guys that right now. I'm gonna zoom in all the way to the photo at the eyelash level. Let's see, 100% right here. And then I'm gonna click the layer off and on, off and on. And you can see that little bit of sharpening that helped increase the sharpening of the photo, or the sharpness of the photo. I'm gonna go ahead and just combine the images right now. Go to merge visible, and then actually zoom all the way out. And then now we wanna resize the photo before we do another round of sharpening. And the way to resize the photo, you just need to go to the top where it says image, go to image size, and then change whatever the longest edge of your photo is to 2048 pixels. With my portrait orientation photo, that's gonna be the height. So I'm gonna change the height to 2048 pixels. Click OK, and zoom in all the way again. And then now we can do that second round of sharpening. The second round of sharpening is gonna be the same way that we did before with the high pass filter method. So let's go ahead and just make a copy first. Then go to the top where it says filter, go to other, click high pass, but this time instead of 0.3, we're gonna make it to 0.15, and I'm gonna click OK. And then again, we're gonna change the blending mode from normal to linear light. And I'm gonna zoom in again, and you guys can see when I click the layer off and on, it is a little bit of sharpening. If you feel like your image could be a little bit sharper than it is right now with that one layer, then you can hit Control or Command J to copy that layer, and then it'll do a little bit more sharpening. So let's go ahead and just take those layers off and then put them back on. And you can definitely see how much sharper the image was with those two layers on it. It is important to keep in mind that over sharpening is a real thing. So don't make more than 2 copies of that layer to sharpen the photo, because it can look really, really nasty when you add too many layers and over sharpen the image. Now we have the photo exactly where we want it to be. It's been resized, it's been edited. Let's just pretend that it's edited, and it is sharpened a bit. And now it's gonna look really, really good when we share this photo onto Facebook or Instagram. I personally just save my photos using the save as way of saving a photo, which is gonna be right here. And then I save a copy to my desktop. And then there are different ways to get your photo off of the computer onto your phone. And like with Apple devices, you have AirDrop, but I highly recommend this one website called snapdrop.net. It's a way to get your photos off your computer into your phone with a Windows version of AirDrop. You basically just need to be on the same connection, the internet connection, as your computer, as your phone, and then you can have Windows version of an AirDrop. And it's what I've been using for a while now, and I highly recommend it. It's actually cool because using snapdrop.net, you can actually send photos and video really easily from your computer to your phone. And I don't think I found a very easy way like that with anything other than that website. If you're like me and using a Windows computer and you have an Apple iPhone, then I would recommend on the iPhone using Safari instead of Google Chrome, because it works easier with snapdrop.net. And that's pretty much it for this video. If it was helpful to you, be sure to give it a like. And if you guys have any questions about anything in this video, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll reply as soon as possible. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe, because I have a lot of content coming soon that is aimed to help you guys out. So for now, I'll just say take care, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.